Hello, disruptors, and welcome to another exciting, extraordinary, very, very special edition of Mindset Master Moments, where we explore the power of mindset in achieving success and fulfillment. Today's episode, I have been distinctly on steroids, just waiting to have this conversation with this amazing guest who simply asked the question, you were created to play big, why are you playing small? When I saw that statement from her, it hit me to the hearing section of my soul that says, as much as you go hard and you go big, you're still not going big enough. So this conversation is going to not just challenge you, but challenge us together to face what we're calling head on, full frontal with your success DNA. We're going to be diving into the conversation of perceiving and transcending epigenetic ancestral blocks to success. We will also touch on relationships DNA as well, and how perceiving and transcending epigenetic ancestral relationship programming is going to transform your world. Our guest is someone whose work in systemic coaching and constellations is truly transformative. I am talking about an extremely abundant, radiant being, and she's highly regarded as an international expert in organizational and individual and family patterns. I hope you're catching this. As a systemic coach and trainer, she is the founder of Systemic Dynamics for individuals and organizations. Her credentials include working with Fortune 500 companies such as NASA, Microsoft, Pfizer, ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, JP Morgan, and so many others that we can't even continue to list. She is highly sought after as a motivational and informational speaker for conferences and businesses. She's super passionate about individual and human potential, visionary leadership, positive and accelerated global change. Let me tell you, her work is truly revolutionary. She has taken the highly esteemed healing methodologies of systemic work and constellations to a whole new level, using them as powerful tools for personal growth and organizational transformation. You guys know that is my jazz, my jazz, my jazz. We are talking today about the phenomenal, incredible, sensational, and transformational Judy Wilkins-Smith. Let me introduce you to Judy Wilkins-Smith. Judy, come on up to the Mindset Mastery Moment stage, and we welcome you here to the show, and I can't wait to have this conversation.
Well, I am so looking forward to this conversation with you. I mean, our pre-conversation was already going,
It is. We had to stop to let you all eavesdrop into the rest of it. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, Judy, your work has been phenomenal. I've seen your testimonials. I've seen everything. And let me just take us right in. If you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do in your own words, because I had fun just sharing a bit about the work you've done.
Okay, so I am Judy Wilkins-Smith, originally from South Africa, born and raised. Moved across to the US, and everything shut down for me because I was medically trained, vascular technology, autotransfusion, hematology. And my father was killed in all of those areas. They failed him. And I always say, people say, how do you get over it? And I say, his final gift to me was having to get a new career because it was done. So then I went into doing what I do now, and that segued into executive coaching. And I'm super fortunate because I coach the most incredible people, really smart people who know that they've got to keep leveling up.
Yes.
And then I get to do this amazing work and watch people really flip themselves around and switch on. And the switch on is, I mean, I'm like you. I love it. When I see somebody transforming, my day is made. We have good stuff going. It's like, yes. So, and I have 2 Siamese cats, and I have a wonderful daughter who is a physician, who is very often, and she knows this, very often the subject of my, for example, she's like, Could you go easy on me as the example?
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. So now just tell us a little bit, Judy, because it is, I mean, from the time I got your profile and your bio, I was like, yes, someone is doing the thing. Because there's a lot of talk, but you don't just understand the science and the psychology and walking around talking about it. You are bringing C-suite executives, top level executives, and individuals wherever they are that wants to work with you into a space of breaking through what's already been there, what they've kind of built up over the years, break through that, shatter, and step into success ultimately in their life, career, business, and just overall, right? So, Judy, tell us about your journey into systemic work and the constellation. What inspired you to focus on this?
Well, okay, so first I'm going to get to what inspired me to focus on where I am today.
Yes.
But what started it was when my dad was killed. It was either write books or go crazy, and I figured write books was probably a better idea. And I was doing research for one of my books, and I bumped into this work, and the person said, come study my work and I will help you with your book. So I went and studied the work, and may I say, got zero help with the book.
Right.
Just saying. But then people said to me, well, if you can do this with individuals, can you do it with organizations or organizations of people? Right. So I got into organizations and started working with them. And I would have people say to me, like my very favorite CFO, who said to me, I don't want any of that woo-woo stuff. I know that you're supposed to be good at figuring out stuff, but I don't want the woo-woo stuff, and definitely not that thing called a constellation. So I said to him, all right, tell me what we got. So we wrote it down on note, those little, what do they call them? Those notebook things.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I wrote them down on the notes, and then I said to him, Post-it notes. And I said to him, okay, I'm very visual. Can we put each one of these, because I isolated the different components.
Yes.
Can we put each component on a separate piece of paper with an arrow, and let's just put it on the floor so we can really see it.
Yes.
So we put them on the floor, and I said, arrange them for me the way that it is in your mind, that you see it. So you arranged it, and I said, okay. And I started asking questions, because what you look at is time, history, distance, space, connection, and you can see it all. It's live representatives, but if I don't have them, then it's pieces of paper with arrows, because the arrows act like directional people.
Yes.
So we work at it and we work at it. And he says to me, I've been at this for 2 years. I cannot figure this problem out, but we'll do it. We work and we work. And he looks at me and goes, oh, dear Lord, I know what the answer is. And he gets the answer, and he looks at me and he says, was that a constellation? I said to him, yeah, it was.
That's what I was starting to see as you describe it.
Absolutely. So there was a constellation. And what it is it's a 3D a picture of what you carry in your head. Only we put it out in front of you, so you've got enough distance to be able to actually see it. And then you can interact with it, because it's highly interactive. Okay. And you'll see there are sentences that come to mind, like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, only smart people get rich people are greedy. And then I'll ask you, where'd that come from? Well, I know my mom and dad used to say so we'll put mom and dad in as well. And then I said to him, okay, did it start with mom and dad? Oh, no, grandma and grandpa used to. So we go back a bit. And then I say to him, okay, so now we can see what the pattern is. That's the pattern trying to stop. You're the change agent. What do we need to say, do, think, feel in order for a very different pattern to begin to take hold in your mind, so in your head, in your heart, and in your gut? Because when those three align, you get internal cohesion, and that's what shifts things. If you couple it to an elevated emotion, you're on your way. You get the goosebumps, you get the whole lot, and suddenly you get that what people call that aha moment, and everything begins to rewire. Now that is what we would call a positive epigenetic episode. So you're achieving these positive epigenetic episodes, and you're beginning to change your emotional DNA, because you don't just have physical DNA, you also inherit emotional DNA. which is
Right.
the biggest driver and causes the biggest yeses and nos in your life.
Wow. So we have a spiritual DNA and sorry, a physical and emotional. Do we also have a spiritual DNA or
Absolutely. You must have a spiritual DNA, because don't forget, again, you've grown up with all of those thoughts, feelings, actions, which is
yes,
what makes it a little odd when we want to say this spiritual and is right and this one's wrong. If you've grown up with that, that's what you're going to have. So you really
right.
want to not listen to the rights and wrongs and just move forward. But with every step you take, you're growing you bigger, you're resolving things backwards, and you're setting the stage forward. So it's super important.
Yes, it is. And so is there a simple space? I'm thinking about my own journey and thinking about how much coding, because your new book,
Yep.
it's called, can you remind us what your new book
So
is?
I've got 2 books out. I've got Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, and that
Yes,
shows you how to find out where your patterns are, what they are, how they're affecting you, and most importantly, why they're there and what you're going to do with them. Right?
most
It's
importantly.
really important. And the
Listen, guys,
second,
yes, that's what I love about you. The work.
the
The
work,
work.
the work. And then
Period.
there's a second book out called, it's just dropped, called the Hidden Power in Your DNA. So for anybody who does genealogy, what they don't realize is genealogy 1.0 is this is where I belong in my family tree. Genealogy 2.0 is what are the events in my family tree? And genealogy 3.0 is, and how do they affect me? And what was I born to do with this? Not small. I was born to shift things. What is that?
Do you believe, I mean, this is a little bit, do you believe that some of us have a bigger responsibility in our genealogical tree or thread, whatever we want to call it, to shift things than some? Do you think some of us were just born to do that more
No,
than the others?
no, it's everybody. It literally is everybody on planet Earth has 2 things, a responsibility and a purpose. We tend to go for
Mm,
the responsibility and make it heavy instead of the purpose, which is a huge adventure. And the minute you get into purpose, the responsibility takes care of itself. You're heading forward and you're creating the emotional DNA that flows from you that's going to affect successive generations. That's your big purpose and responsibility. Make it bigger, make it better.
that's it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have touched on something that's very personal for me. Everyone has heard me talk about my story and all the things that would have come along in my journey. And they're like, oh, well, how did you become this person? And so, what I've learned about myself, because I was the child who sat down with great aunts and grandpas and uncles and everyone I could possibly get to give me pieces and whatever they could tell me about my family history, who my grandma was, because I'm from South America where I would say records wise, we did not have such a sophisticated system for
Right.
to go back and find. So you either get that from family or you're disconnected. Okay. So I was doing this once I was like 10, 11, started
Oh,
asking questions.
that's a teller. That's what we call somebody who you've got a clue. You're
Yeah.
compelled to do it. That's somebody who's going to change things. Where are you from in South America?
Guyana, the only English
Okay.
speaking country. So that was what I was doing. So like I have relatives around the world who still call me, do you still have that family tree document that you created? And so you have you have your mother, her maternal side and her paternal side. You have your father and you have
Exactly.
my father's paternal side. Now I couldn't get much information on my father's paternal side and even his maternal side, but I got like almost a generation back on his maternal side, and it stopped with his dad. My grandfather died when I was like 4 or 5. I
Right.
spent time with him, but now I was picking from my dad what he did know and talking to his siblings. And what I realized is that I was looking for I think it would be surprising because I had a home, I had parents that were, my parents were married when they had me. I was the first child, but I think DNA meant everything to me. And then I wanted to know stories. So I went from, okay, who they were, what genetic or race they were, or culture, what religion they practiced, to what did they do? Where did they work? Um,
Very smart.
what were they like? I talked to neighbors who knew my mother's mother. My mom's mom died when my mom was 4, so I didn't know her. And there was so much that I learned. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this courageous spirit that come from her, and the entrepreneurial spirit, the very industrial spirit that comes from both sides of my family. Okay, so I have abundance of that. What I was looking for was strength in my DNA, because there was a history of the men being the workers and the providers, and the women being staying at home. And there was something in me that kind of wanted both as a woman, and it didn't make sense. But when I looked at my immediate, like my mom and her line, they were all independent, but single women. They all didn't have a husband after a while and raised their children on their own. And that was a pattern I did not want to repeat. And there was just so many things. I was looking at patterns, and I was like, I didn't know where I was going with this. I didn't know psychology as much as I do now, and I would learn later, but I was just getting information. It turns out, and when it came to me, my pivot, when I went through my big thing in my life, it was purpose. And I said all that stuff to say that I didn't want to undertake, oh, I'm not going to be single mother, because I started to feel like these are things I don't want and I'm not going to repeat. And you could become so overly obsessed with that becomes the focus. And I was for a while in my early 20s, and that was just did not work. By the time I was in my early 30s, I understood the one thing you need to do is focus on your why. And you get busy doing that, you will heal these things, and these things will more than likely not become part of your future because you don't fear it anymore. It's now you understand it.
You want to know it, you want to acknowledge it, you want to give it its place, but then you want to make your own place. So you're using this as a treasure trove that says don't do it or do it, unlock here or unlock there, and then you're going on your way going, got this, and you're moving ahead.
This is funny how instinctively, I don't know anything about your work, but I feel like instinctively, maybe, and this is something you'll guide us on, as humans, we actually instinctively know how to do what you're saying, but we don't heed it. Right? Do you feel that?
We instinctively know that we should be doing something. But many of us also then get bound down with it, depending on your religion or your background or your culture, we're small. We're small people. We're not good enough. So we get small. We're sinners. We're smaller people, and we get even smaller. That one drives me insane.
Oh, come on.
Our culture is small. We're even smaller. So now by this time we're this big. Instead of, you know what, I'm going to be the representative for my country. I'm going to be the representative for my culture. I'm going to show my family what it's like to grow big. And I'm going to show people that God's or the guides or the universe are not this big scary entity that keeps trying to smack you every time you get up. No.
You just read my entire life.
I will guarantee you come in November, you will see this and go, oh my goodness, this is kind of what I've been doing. Yes. I just know what I was doing, and here's the language for it.
The language, exactly. And so for viewers and listeners, we've been talking about an event, and we'll share towards the end that Judy has coming up in November, that I am definitely giving that gift to myself as a person, as an individual, and also as a leader, and then bring it into my work. And she'll share some more about that as we go along. But it is so important for us to understand what you said about the three. It's three DNAs, DNA 0.1, 0.2, 0.3.
No, genealogy. So genealogy 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. You were already doing 1.0 and 2.0, and you're now looking at, so what do I do with this 3.0 version? How do I bring it all together, but instinctively you were gathering pieces. So for you, what would make sense, by the way, have you watched Encanto?
What did you call it?
Encanto. Encanto.
I think is that a movie?
It's a Disney movie.
No, I haven't.
You need to go and watch that. You're
Okay.
going to cry. I promise you.
Okay.
Look at that and look at yourself as Mirabelle. She's the main character. You will cry because this is her and this is you. And it's actually, the whole movie is about family constellations. And twice she says in the movie, this is my family constellation. And she's talking about pulling all of those pieces together. Yeah.
So was I working on a constellation?
You were absolutely working on a constellation, and you still are. You were working on little mini bits to get it together to start creating your 3.0. When you asked, what did you do? Where did you work? What was it like? You were 2.0ing because you were getting the events. Now you're sitting with 3.0 going, okay, I've got a whole lot of this stuff. Rocket ready to launch. What do I do now? So you're heading up. Yeah.
I'm heading up. And that's probably what that breakthrough is, constantly having these little mini breakthroughs. So I'm going in November to get boom.
A breakthrough.
Welcome when I get back in my 3.0 version.
You also come from Latin America, right?
Yes, I am.
Latin America is often very hierarchical. And when I work with executive clients, the first thing I've got to teach them is it is fine in your family. You cannot have that in your work. It's going to keep you down.
I learned that.
People are stunning. They're amazing people, but they will keep themselves small because of the hierarchy, and they've got to break through that.
And I think that's where I started to call myself, without being negative, what the common is, sort of the black sheep, because I'm on my own. And I could see over the years, a lot of people who I grew up with not become mad at me or whatever, but I see them distancing themselves from my work and my platform.
Because you're not a black sheep, you're a pioneer.
Exactly. That's a better word, right? And being a pioneer and a visionary, it's like you're unlocking and turning away from what in my simplicity of the work I do is limiting beliefs, because it's a belief system or a belief that doesn't work. I get it served us 1,500 years ago, and I honor that and I honor it, but it wouldn't work now. Not to say, oh, so you're now new age and all that. I'm pretty sure I've heard it. And I'm like, okay, so go for whatever you want. And my job has always been, I'm curious. And you talk about this in your work.
Yes. Curious is one of my favorite words, because if you're curious, people can't get mad. You don't get judgmental. Curiosity moves you off judgment, and you sit there and you just get curious. And the more curious you are, the more other people allow themselves to be curious around you.
That's it. And it's funny because when I listen to you saying, oh yeah, you were mapping a constellation, and the way I work with clients, really, really quick. I had this one young man I was working with on Friday who came to me. He says, Dr. Whyte, I feel stuck in what job I should choose when I'm done with my training and my certification. And it's funny. I'm like, do you mind if we just, I said, what are you feeling stuck with? What do you feel? I just can't make up my mind. I was like, okay, gotcha. All right. What are you choosing? I don't even know. Okay, gotcha. I said, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood? And here I go doing this thing that they would say therapists do, but I'm not trying to do therapy at all. Partly, now I'm learning that I was doing a constellation. So I said, who did you grow up with? Well, it was my mom and my dad passed when I was like about 2. What position are you? Oh, I'm the second. And how old? He's 2 years older than me. And I said, so how long was it just you and your mom and your brother, just in your nice cozy? He said, well, I was 7 before my stepdad came in. And then I go, okay, so how did you feel about that? He was like, it was kind of I didn't really get along. I didn't like him at first at all. I said, okay, all right. How did you feel? It was weird. I said, so, tell me this. how much time did you spend with mom, and what did it look like when stepdad came in the picture? He said, we spend more time with grandmas and stuff when they were first together. I said, did you have siblings? Did mom and stepdad have siblings? Yes, they did. And I was like, what's your relationship with them? Well, I felt like I had never treated them well because I was like, because what? He said, well, it was just a lot. Like everything just kind of changed so quickly. Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Do you remember when your first heartbreak? And I'm going intuitively as well at this point. When was the first time you ever felt like your heart was broken? And everyone's like, in my mind, I know he's like, where is this going? It's like, well, I dated this girl from 15 to 18. I thought that was it. She thought that was it. And then we started fighting. We were both athletic and everything was going great. By then, I would shut out my brother. I didn't spend as much time with my brother. Couldn't care what was really going on. I was more to myself. He said I went in my selfish mode. I said, okay. And what happened? He said, I actually told her I didn't love her anymore because I was afraid she was going to leave me. And we were going to break up after all the things that's going on. I said, and what did that make you feel when she actually followed with the plan you put in motion? Well, I felt abandoned. I felt like I wasn't worth of anything. I was like, do you feel like that right now when you think about getting a job? What scares you? Let's go back to what scares you. And I said, so that was your first heartbreak. When did you get your heart broken again? He's like, that was it. That was the first one and the last one. Well, I did meet this girl recently because he's only 21. And I kind of broke up with her once it started getting really good.
Of course.
I said, So I'm going to ask you again, when do you think it was your first heartbreak? He said, my girlfriend that I broke up with at 18. I said, I sense another one. Do you think your heart broke when your mom had to share herself with you, stepdad, and then do kids? He looks up like me. Oh my God. That's what he said. He said, you're right. It did feel like that. And that's the feeling I didn't want to feel when I was with my girlfriend at 18. It's the same feeling I had with this other potential. I was like, so is it safe to say that you feel like you're not good enough and anything that's good, they will leave you and abandon you? Is that, yeah, I'm not telling you. Is that a feeling? It's like, I do. And I said, do you think that's why you're not wanting to choose a job? Because you're afraid it won't work out? You might leave it, possibly. Okay. You see, I think that was a constellation. My point is everything about us is about where it started. And you're taking us to before it started, before we even came into this world. My mother's experience is mine. Is that what you're telling us? I read a book from Tech Now. Tell us. I want you to reflect on that. I give that to you and the audience so you can work us through that because I don't know I know where I'm going with it, but that's about it for me. I know you take us deeper.
Okay, so you're exactly right. He's afraid if anything is good, it will abandon me or I will abandon it first before it gets a chance to abandon me. So anything that looks good, we're not going to be friends, the end, split. Yeah. When he sees his mom's, but if what you would go back to him and say to me is, okay, that was then and that was with your mom.
Yes.
This is your job. Can you see that the two are getting confused? The two are always doing this. Now you've got to start learning to separate them out. And so what you can do is take pieces of paper and show him and start separating them out so he can feel it. You can get him to stand close to or more distant from, and he's going to feel the body sensation with that. Ooh. And so then what my and then, because I play in the and then space, is okay, so you don't like the abandonment or things not working out because it becomes too much for your nervous system. Yeah. Is it your nervous system or is it also your mother's and your father's and your grandfather's? Because we have two nervous systems, your individual one and your multi-generational one. And if you keep keying into those, you're getting hit twice all the time. So let's have a look at that begin in the family. And it's asking you to be the one to set that down. With your dad gone, can you tell your dad when you left, things changed and it wasn't the same for us? and we felt abandoned. Can you tell him that?
Right.
And can you tell your father, for you who couldn't stay, I will? Because the minute you do that, he's rooted in. And so his purpose is actually to be present and to stay. And the minute he does that, he uncouples from all the ones who disappeared in the family, because like you said, in your case, there are many men who disappear. You would want to look in his family.
Yes.
If there are disappearing men, he may also be afraid, I'm next. No.
Right.
What he says is, I will stay. And that is a different epigenetic. When he can feel that strongly, it creates a different genetic expression. So now he starts to move in the direction of, I'm solid, I'm dependable, I will stay. It's okay to love. It's okay to be loved. Let's do this. Life is exciting. And now he's unlocked that stuckness and he is on his way to adventure. And you know what? We all have bumps and bruises. He's going to learn you can bump and get up. You can bump and get up. At some point, it's going to stay. And so are you.
Ooh.
And so it is.
And so it is. The one thing I did do with him for my limited sphere of what I do, and I say limited because
oh, it's not limited. You're good.
So I said, I want you to honor that there's a 7-year-old who felt abandoned by mom. There's a 2 or 4-year-old who felt the loss and somewhat of an abandonment because dad passed.
Absolutely an abandonment.
And I want you to honor them. And then I want you to talk to the 18-year-old who had to, let go of this lifeline of a girlfriend who brought so much and felt like she was going to stay forever. I want you to honor that they are afraid. And they're still with you.
What
and
you would
you
do
at 21 can protect them.
Yes. If you put up a representative for each one, you could actually have them speak to them.
You are going to take this work so much further. It's why I love you. It's why I love you, because you're going to help me take my work to the next level. I say it's going to be 5.0, okay? But what I was looking at, what I know is I want you to honor the fear that they feel, these parts of you. And at 21, with the awareness you have right in this moment that these young men were afraid and they were feeling abandoned, I want you to honor them and I want you to love them this weekend. I want you to tell them it's okay. You understand, you hear them. I want you to just have a moment, whatever that looks like. It could be tears, it could be snot, it could be screaming, whatever. Let them feel, all of them. And then want you to turn around when you're done and write I am statements that says who I am. All the things you want to be, all the things you are, that's good. Write it. And I want you to feel that right now at age 21 and look with these young men and say, I have got all of us.
There you go. I was just going to say to you, the one piece that's missing is I got you.
I've got you. I've got all of you. Because what happens, and I say this to people all the time, that part of you, that 7-year-old wants to drive the car sometimes, that 18-year-old wants to drive the car sometimes, and they're going off of all of the pain sometimes. And I want, when you hear them, when you have the awareness, for me, as where I'm at in my 2.0 version is, I'm aware, okay, I hear you, 15-year-old Alisa, you're scared. You're afraid, you're angry, you're upset. This triggers you. It's mostly fear, because all it is from the past experience I had, I'm afraid here. I hear you, I feel you, but remember, I've got us. I got you. I promise you, I've got you.
I love that. It's I've got you. And just by the way, and I said this to you earlier, you said something important. It's the fear. That's the November one, is all about the fear. What is the fear? Where did it come from? It's always about the fear. And then turning that into freedom. Because the fear is either we're scared that something terrible will happen or is going to happen. And by the way, 90% of the time it's already happened.
It's already happened.
You survived. So from fear and then into freedom. And it's that permission piece, giving ourselves permission to go there. And then not just going, oh, well, okay, I've got permission. No, go there.
Go
there. This is what we're looking for globally at the moment, is stop playing small. The playing small is what's got the world in a crunch at the moment. We keep playing small. We keep being scared. We keep being angry, which is scared.
Yes, it's all because, I subscribe to there's two forces in this world. It's love or fear.
It's love or fear.
And there's no gray area. Now, you can be doing a juggling act at any given time between the two, but the more you get over to love, that's where all the abundance is. And we're talking about success DNA. That's where success is. I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned that I believe you were talking about my own fears and then the ancestral ones that I carry.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about that? This episode, oh my gosh.
I'm going to give you the success one or the money one. The money one. Okay?
Yes, let's talk about that.
So you come along and you go, oh, I really want to do well with money. Ooh. Because now you're waiting to get hit over the head with a piece of 2x4. Why? Because you were taught love of money is the root of all evil. Not true. Lust of money may be, love of money not.
Right.
It's either love or money.
Yes.
Money is evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. Only greedy people have money. Where did that come from? It's not yours. It's come from so far back, and it is so global. We call that a meta money pattern. So now your whole being is keyed into, this is what I want, which is your nervous system. But money doesn't grow on trees. It's only for and voices start to speak. When you want something and you can hear all the doubting voices speaking, they're not yours. Those are your ancestors. That's what happened to them. That's where that comes from. The language is their language. It doesn't belong in your mouth, and it doesn't belong in your body, which means that 90% of the time you're not present. You're actually repeating the lives of your ancestors or their patterns. It's not. And if you are present, that's when you're fully present and you say to them, like the I got you.
Yes.
Those ones that you put up, when you can say, I acknowledge you. I hear the pattern. I'm choosing to do it differently. And you swing it around and start doing it differently. Now you're fully present. You may have a tickle of in your tummy, which is fine. And you've got, your future is no longer predictable. Up until now it was. You look at your ancestors, you know what's happening to you. Now you're doing it differently, and you've just changed the whole ball game.
You have changed.
Now you're not being overtaken by their nervous system.
Yes.
You're fully in your nervous system. You're going, I see you, your wisdom, we're doing this.
Oh, I love it. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Listen, if you are watching or listening to this podcast right now, you have to press pause, take the link, and share it to 5 other persons. That's it. That's the number of the day, 5 other individuals. And if you already know that you need this work, one thing I can tell you that I've learned about Judy in my time with her over the past few months, because it took us a while to get on schedule to record this episode, was that she does the work. She's not just teaching you science and psychology. She is going to help you do the work. So Judy, here's that question I have for you, because you take this, and like you so rightfully said, this is what we're facing in the world right now. And so you take this into organizational settings. How do you apply the systemic work into organizational settings? Can you share an example of transformation that you facilitated with a leader of an organization?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I had 2 people, but I'll talk about the one from Latin America. And the guy said to me, well, yes, it's going to be nice to work with you as a coach, but in the end, I'm not going to get the big jobs in North America because no Latin American people do. We know that. And I said to him, where is that coming from? And he said, well, my father taught me that when I was very young. And he also said, I'm an introvert, and introverts are not leaders. So I said to him, and you swallowed that? Because we've got to remember we are magicians. Ooh. People make magic by telling us things, and we swallow the spells and we go, yep, that's right. And then we make it the truth. But it's not the truth. So he swallows this, and all his life he's the introvert, and he knows he's not going to get the top job, so he's going to just be a really good, solid worker bee. But he'd love to do it because he's got all the talent. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So
not on Judy's watch.
And I said to him, what's your big dream? He says, what's your big dream? I'd really like to take my whole family and live in America. So I said, okay, so let's do that. And he goes, yeah, right. I said to him, no, we're doing that. Do you want to do that? I really want to do that. He is now in America, and he's in one of the top jobs in a global company. And we're talking a Fortune 500 company. He and another person I've coached, in fact, I think there are 3 of them. They've all gone across because they discovered they didn't need to get trapped by their culture, by their lineage.
Yes.
No, you don't. It was always designed to be a launch pad.
Yes.
Not a ceiling. And we keep seeing it as a ceiling. It's a launch pad.
A launch pad.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to take off what's going to weigh you down from takeoff.
Exactly. And let me tell you, sometimes it is not easy. Moving across, you know this, you did it.
Yes.
Moving across to the US, I think if I look at it now, I was a straight crazy person to do it. It was the best crazy person.
I was convinced after 3 months, this was not a great idea.
Exactly.
I got everything in me.
Yeah, crying because I'd never seen so many different potatoes. I've never seen so many.
Why is there so many clothes to choose from?
How do you have an infinite number of butters? It's just butter, people. I mean, I wasn't used to this. Now I look and I go in and I go, I am so grateful. I get to choose from all this. It is.
We had to change. Yes.
Change. And it doesn't mean when people say, I really want transformation, 90% of the time they're saying, I really want transformation, but let's not do that.
Exactly.
Or my other version of that is they know the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, but could we try it my way anyway?
Come on. Can we try? And that's okay. So I want to love, I want to get married, but
syndrome.
Stay over here. Exactly. I love that you say, and then, yes. And then, and so, everything about life is we want it our way and staying in that comfort zone.
In other words, keep me within the realm of my ancestors, and ancestors are going, it wasn't such a great journey this side. Will you, for goodness sake, move? And we think, no, we're being true to the ancestors, and they're going, move.
Run, your time is coming. You only have so much time.
Exactly. Just move.
So when it comes to constellations, why is it viewed as woohoo? What is the true nature? Is it because,
It's viewed that way because we've never understood the power of it. And that's kind of my mission. When you start doing things where people see themselves shifting, so let me explain a constellation. A constellation means you come to me with an issue. We sit down, we identify the issue. I take a history, and based on the history, I know what components I see. And I'll say to you, choose someone to represent this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And when you've chosen them, okay, set them up for me like a picture. In other words, what is it? How is it for you? Now, the minute you do that, people don't understand that you're making the invisible visible. Yeah. We haven't been taught that. You're making the invisible visible. So now you can see it, you can hear it, you can interact with it, you can see where the roadblocks are, you can see where the opportunities are, you can see who's aligned with whom, you can see dad off in the distance and ask questions about that. So this is a constellation. In addition to that, what people don't understand is we're making the unconscious conscious, because you'll suddenly start saying, I remember when I was 4, that. So up comes that piece, and the constellation starts to shift. Yeah. And they go, how is that possible? Well, you tune into someone's system, and that's where people go, oh, no, that's not possible. And I said, well, hold on. Have you ever watched America's Got Talent or American Idol, and you see somebody get into their zone and you see them start to lift up and you've got goosebumps and everybody's standing up? you're just keyed into their system. We do it all day long, but we've never been taught that.
Wow.
And so then people go, oh, well, so that's woo-woo. And I go, no. It's based on neuroscience. We are rewiring the brain and the body. It's based on epigenetics. Scientists now know that trauma and trauma patterns are passed down through the generations.
Yes.
So are success patterns. We go first to trauma, and we always look at success. So we know this is inherited. It's well documented and well researched.
Yes.
In fact, people can go and look at the Great Dutch Hunger Winter and read all about it. But so what you're doing is at all times when you are raised emotionally, and usually it's negatively raised,
yes,
you buy into the trauma, so now you repeat it.
In
other words, the spell that was cast by your words, or actually the words of your ancestors, we'll never do better, goes, we'll never do better, we'll never do better, we'll never do better, we'll never do better. Until or unless somebody unlocks that spell and says, I'm doing better. We're doing better, we're doing better, we're doing better. So now you've recast the spell. So if we think spells are not real, people, they are real. We do them every day.
We do them. Yeah.
We do. And so people think that this is woo-woo, but it's actually not. It's very logical, scientific.
It seemed like a law of nature. And whether you subscribe or not, it's there and you're part of it and you're doing it.
Exactly.
The way is to do it in favor of what we would say, get the success you want.
Exactly. And so what's happening is more and more people are beginning to understand, hey, wait, I'm not a victim. And if I do this work, I can figure out how I'm not a victim. And by the way, I can have an adventure. And so that awareness is starting to grow. And the idea that this is woo-woo is fading. And with both the books, it's actually saying, here's the evidence, here's the research, here's what you need to go and do. Because my books are very much geared towards, here's what you can do for you. Wake up.
Yes.
Wake up.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Woohoo! Judy, this is definitely a 2-part episode, guys. So don't worry. We've got a lot more coming. We're going to go to a quick commercial break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential, shatter limitations, and ignite success in your life, career, business, and relationships? Introducing Mindset Mastery Moments, the transformative podcast hosted by the #1 mindset disruptor, Dr. Alisa Whyte. It's not just a podcast, it's a movement dedicated to rewiring your mindset for limitless possibilities. Subscribe now and disrupt the status quo with Mindset Mastery Moments. Your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment is just a click away. Embrace the extraordinary and welcome to the Mindset Revolution.